and live well. Don't we all want to do that? Well, we've got you covered. Hello and welcome to Ishi Speaks, your gateway to good health, a podcast series that will feature interesting conversations and actionable insights about good health. We will be speaking to our in-house expert, Ishi Khosla, who's a well-known nutritionist, author and columnist. And our focus will be gut health, because it all begins and ends with the gut. So let's begin. So welcome, Ishi, to yet another episode of Ishi Speaks, your gateway to good health.
Thank you, Ruchira.
And our focus today is another very common concern and a very often searched topic, and that is the role of gut health in overall well-being. And according to Harvard Health, there are more than 100 trillion microorganisms that reside in our gut, and they actually influence and impact everything from our mood to our overall well-being. So for our audience, what is gut health? In simple terms, tell us.
Well, what we were taught in our biology classes was that the gut is important for digestion. It's a tool, it's an organ where digestion happens and where assimilation happens, where we digest, break down our food, and the vitamins and minerals and nutrients are absorbed.
Sure.
But the role of the gut has expanded to levels where we could never imagine. And today we have identified these microorganisms which sit in the gut. They're all over the body, but the maximum is in the gut, which control just about everything about us, whether we are happy or sad, fat or thin, ill health or healthy. All of those things, which genes are going to be expressed and which will be silenced, is also a function of these microorganisms, and which vitamins will be picked up and which will not will also be determined by the gut. Really, they are the gatekeepers of our health, and there are good and bad ones. If the good ones are in good number and the bad ones are outnumbered, we're in good health. And if that balance switches for
then
whatever reasons, for many environmental reasons, then we are going to be in a state of disease, or we have disorders. So that typically is as simple as it gets. Traditionally, it was believed that all diseases begin in the gut. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said that 2500 years ago, that all diseases begin in the gut, and death sits in the bowels.
Wow.
But I think we've come a long way in now documenting that through science.
True. And another important research of National Institute of Health says that 70% of our immune system also resides in the gut. So clearly it all begins and ends with the gut. So how can I keep my gut healthy?
What you put into your mouth, what you choose to eat, will determine the health of your microorganisms. At the end of the day, that decision is so critical and so important. And therefore we keep saying you are what you eat, and you are what you don't eat, and so it's very critical to our health. And if anyone wants to build up good health mentally or physically, they need to worry about, or they need to be mindful about what they eat and what they put into their mouth. Like they say, what's at the end of the fork.
All right. So what are the top 3 gut healthy foods or good for the gut foods in your mind, which are easy for people to consume?
I don't think I would like to answer that question as simplistically as you ask it, because a good healthy diet is what really is important. I would just say that choose your foods wisely. Make sure that you have plenty of vegetables and proteins and good fats and good carbohydrates. And you also need to look at healthy practices. What time you're eating, how you're chewing, whether you're fasting, whether you're having fermented foods. It's about nutrition and health, food and good health practices, all of which will make a difference. So I don't think we want to dramatize it and say that these 3 foods are great for you, and you know, sauerkraut is going to do this for me, or
yogurt,
and kombucha is going to do this, or yogurt. No, it's just a fad. Let's not.
All right. So how do you know that if your gut is healthy or not?
if you're in a state of mental and physical well-being, you're energetic in the morning when you wake up, you have a positive attitude, you want to set your day.
You're excited.
And you're excited about getting out of bed and doing things, and you have good plans, and you are positive, you're not angry, irritable, hangry, any of those, and you sleep
And if you don't
well,
have crazy cravings, I believe,
and you
right?
sleep well, and and if you don't, you're hungry when you have cravings. So when you are in control of yourself and you
That
look
is-
forward to your day and are productive, and you have healthy relationships, I think
That is good gut health.
evidence that you're in good shape.
All right. And what is inflammation? There's so much of talk about your gut being inflamed or you being allergic to certain foods. So what is really gut inflammation?
Well, inflammation is something which is like a little fire inside our body.
Okay.
It's what we call low-grade systemic inflammation. It means that it is in the system and it's on an ongoing basis. It's different from inflammation which happens when you have fever or acute infection. That is protective, whereas this one is the starting point of almost all chronic degenerative diseases.
Okay.
Be it heart disease, diabetes, autoimmunity, cancer, mental health problems, your brain, everything, brain can be inflamed, any organ can be inflamed thanks to low-grade systemic inflammation. Now, where does this low-grade inflammation start?
All right.
It starts in the gut.
Okay. So
Yeah.
back to
So
beginning and ending with the gut.
So if you have a fiery brain, or you're getting dementia, or you're getting cataract, or you're getting joint pains, any asthma, if you have any sort of disorder with your kidneys or your pancreas or your liver, the starting point is inflammation. So
All right.
it's difficult to measure, but clearly we know we have some markers for inflammation, but very often I have patients say, oh, my inflammatory marker is okay, my ESR is okay, my CRP is okay. How can you say we have inflammation?
All right.
The fact is that if you have a thyroid problem, it starts with inflammation. If you have diabetes, it starts with inflammation. And then that will manifest in diseases according to your genetic predisposition. So whatever your weak links are, wherever you are more prone to developing issues according to your genes, it will surface there faster.
All right.
So yes, so that's where it starts.
Okay, and how do probiotics impact gut health? They're highly recommended to maintain good health. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we do have a balance of good and bad microorganisms in our gut and in our bodies, and to ensure that the good ones outnumber the bad ones is the goal, is really the goal. And probiotics certainly are a good way of ensuring that you have the good ones in higher numbers than the bad ones.
All right.
And we do need probiotics today because our diets overall are so full of chemicals and
processed foods, yes.
and processed foods, and they disturb our the
Gut
good
balance.
and the bad, the balance, and so we definitely need them to restore it. But it can't be that I eat badly and I have a probiotic to counter that. It
won't
doesn't work. And also, I think people who have food sensitivities, food allergies, today we see gluten and grain issues.
Very common.
Very common. That's again a function of a lot of changes that have happened in the food and the way wheat is being processed. And then secondary to that, we have dairy intolerance, people who can't tolerate milk and milk products, and so on and so forth. So the allergy, the number of people suffering from allergies has really gone up,
Of course.
significantly in the last 20-30 years. And so we can strengthen the ability of the body to handle these foods through probiotics.
All right.
But certain things like gluten intolerance, etc., we can only make it better, but we seem to need to eliminate it rather than just look at increasing resilience.
So you've been practicing, Ishi, for like 35 years, and of course your focus is on gut health. So from your experience, tell me, what are the changes that you've seen in terms of, gut health, grain choices, illnesses? Maybe share one or two good examples from your patients?
Yeah, Ruchira, when we used to practice when I was in escorts and back in those days, we were just doing what we were trained by our education and our books. And I realized it was really not working. And I had patients who would eat 3 egg yolks every day and their cholesterol used to be normal. And
Wow.
people who were eating ghee and butter and all of that and never
Cholesterol
had
was
high
fine.
cholesterol.
All right.
And so all those myths about food seemed to be glaring, and we didn't
Looking.
have explanations. And some people who were completely non-smokers, vegetarians, walked, did normal BMIs, no belly fats, and were coming up with heart disease, etc., and kidney disease. So back in those days, that set me thinking that it's not adding up.
All right.
And we needed to look further down, and that's when the whole chapter about the gut and wheat sensitivity started.
Came up.
So at that time we were doing whole grains and we were doing whole wheat and better grains for you. But when we started looking at the gut and the issue of food sensitivities, our ability to intervene and treat diseases became so much more effective and rewarding. And if I'm not exaggerating that I could never imagine we could help somebody who's got acute arthritis in a matter of 2 weeks.
Wow.
And,
but just changing the grains?
Just changing the grains and a diabetes reversal in 21 days. Literally, I would not believe that, but I see it in my patients. It's happening on a daily basis. So I think this is a big change from the time I practiced then to the last 10 years through intervening through the gut and addressing food sensitivities. So there are people who ask me, are you, why are you doing this to people and why? I said, well, all I'm doing is
helping people.
Cutting down inflammation. Anything we know is inflammatory or pro-inflammatory has to be out. And if you put it out, you see dramatic changes.
Yeah. Even I've just changed my flour as you recommended, and I have seen there has been some inch loss. So yeah, there is a difference.
I can vouch for that. I can see it myself.
But I have a long way to go. Hopefully we'll get there soon. Yes. All right. So what foods should be avoided to maintain and ensure a healthy gut?
Well, first of all, know your body and see what you are intolerant to. And sometimes say, how do we know it? Do we have to have expensive tests? May not be. It's good to see if you are suspecting, say, wheat or you're suspecting corn and soya, etc. Just put it out for 2 weeks.
All right. And watch your body.
3 weeks and watch your body. Maintain a food diary and see what kind of effect it has on you.
And should you check your weight also every morning?
Check your weight, check your pain points, whatever you're trying to, your goals, and see how, if you have acne, if you have a skin problem, if you have tummy issues,
whatever you're trying to address.
All right. Headaches for that matter. And for 2-3 weeks, 3 weeks is great. Just watch it, write your food diary, journal, and then reintroduce that food.
And then again watch. Wow.
And
seems like a lot of work, but it has to be done.
In Navratras, twice a year we have 8 days of fasting where grains change.
Yes.
Can you imagine? Our ancestors were very smart.
Yes.
They changed the grains compulsory on religious grounds, and people felt good.
Better, yeah, and lighter. They felt lighter.
The day they break it on the 8th or the 9th day, they say, "Oh, we're just back to feeling completely out of it," and they blame the fat. They blame the puri and the halwa and all of that. But actually, it's the grain.
All right. So, Ishi, what are the common misconceptions or the one big misconception that you would like to address with regards to gut health for our audience?
I think the important, the takeaway will be that to address the health and well-being in general, which means also the gut, we need good fats. Somehow, with all our narratives on trying to make things better for people and food education, nutrition education, fats have got a beating.
All right.
And the perception is
that we should not eat
that
fats.
Low fat is good for you, and it's heart healthy, and it will be bad for our digestion. I think the difference here is that we have to address the difference between good and bad fat. So good fats are needed and should be taken, and if you want me to define what are good fats, I would just say things which came naturally like butter and ghee and mustard oil and cold pressed oils are all good for us, which were traditional. Whether it's coconut oil or butter or it's saturated, they're good for us as long as they're not processed.
All right.
And indirectly they can come from things like nuts and seeds and certain foods which have become popular like avocado, etc. But these are good fats, and one shouldn't fear good fats, and they're important fuel to rebuild our gut cells.